Welcome back to Women Talk Construction, where we are building futures. I'm Christy Powell, and today Angela and I are thrilled to kick off this podcast with an absolute genius in construction. Pat Miller has spent decades turning blueprints into reality and crafting a career in construction that's as inspiring as it is impactful. She started humbly and now leading some transformative projects. Pat's story is proof that passion and perseverance can build anything. So let's dive in. Pat, hi, and thank you for being here. Hello, Angela.
Hello and hello, Pat. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, guys. Nice
We're
to
so
see you
glad that
ladies.
you're here.
Yeah.
So obviously, we know that there's a lot of talk around the state of the construction industry right now. Just about every news feed that you listen to, I'm a listener, or you watch, you're hearing some things about the state of the construction industry. Can you tell us, from your perspective, what's it look like today?
Well, it's getting a lot better than it was.
Nice.
2025 started with a slow start, and things are picking up. Some of the stuff that was put on hold um, due to uncertainty with the insurance in New Jersey, our insurance is sky high. So also the interest rates. So it's kind of calmed down. The election's
Mhm.
over, people calm down, people are pulling the trigger, and things are starting to look up in my area. So I
Nice.
have quite a few contracts already under my belt for this year, and it's looking good.
Yay.
That's
Yep.
amazing. Amazing. So that's so positive because if you go places right now, all you hear is the negative, right?
Yeah.
So it's really good to hear some positivity from folks that are really in the field and know what's going on.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. I've
Yes.
been Go
No,
ahead.
keep going. No.
No, I worked pretty hard last year. It was really, really slow. A lot of
Mm,
people were just pushing paper. A lot of the bigger guys were busy. I'm talking big, guys who
mm-hmm.
built walls and
Yeah,
bridges and stuff like that. So I worked hard and I'm reaping the rewards of being very concise with my bidding. And not everybody's busy still. It's still
right.
taking time
Huh.
to trickle down. So I'm being blessed early on in the year that some of my hard work last year is paying off early. So
That's a
I'm
good
very
point.
blessed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Don't give up,
interesting.
right? That's a sign. Don't give up.
Yeah, it's
No.
interesting how various sector or, of the US are doing better than others because we didn't really see a slowdown last year, but we definitely see it picking back up now, like you're saying. Let's go back to the fact that you are an owner of
Mhm.
your construction company. Share what your name of your construction.
Sure. My name is Pat Miller, and I'm the owner of Blue Diamond Construction here in Jackson, New Jersey. And what I specialize in is commercial carpentry. So I build commercial buildings for a living for developers and corporations. I build the bones of the building,
Ah,
and I also fit out the inside. So it's framing, drywall, ceilings, doors, finished carpentry. So
oh,
that's what
cool.
I do for a living.
So
Yeah.
are you doing wood or steel or both?
I concentrate on metal. I do
Okay,
Oh,
metal.
offer my clients wood, but I work parallel with wood framers. Wood
Okay.
framers have a different
yeah.
They
tool
do.
base. Yeah. So they just pull from a different types of tools, and I'm geared towards metal. That's what all the tools I have. So I keep that in house and I sub out wood, and they give me very competitive numbers, so I can keep my clients happy with the numbers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So being in the industry forever myself, this next question, I know that it's like it is a never-ending battle. But prioritizing, the quality, safety, and the relationships over low-cost bidding. How do
Oh,
you do that?
it's so difficult,
Mm.
and I'm pounding the pavement on that. That's, like, one of my things this year. I keep circling back to some of the clients who came back to me over the last 2, 3 years who went with low bids,
And
and
what
I was
happened? Did they have, like, a bad experience and that's why they're coming
Yes,
back to you? Oh,
yeah.
there.
So they were behind schedule, shoddy workmanship, not turning over the projects to their tenants, and it was costing them money and interest.
Mm,
Construction loans are very big.
Yes.
So they were losing money, and they circled back, and look, I keep the client busy. I don't win every job. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that they start realizing that you can't compromise certain things.
No.
You can't. I mean, I pride myself in always being in the middle. I'm not the low guy and I'm not retiring with being overpriced. I'm usually in the middle, but it's comprehensive, it's all inclusive, and it's a quality product. So I'm trying to get them to open their eyes. They're starting to do that. They're realizing that the last couple of years didn't really go their way. They lost a lot of money on
Mm-hmm.
interest on their loans and not being able to collect the rents, getting their tenants.
And you
And
care about keeping your people safe too, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's a
oh,
big deal for contractors that truly care about their people is safety, and that's a price too.
it
Yeah.
is. And I had that just happen to me actually. They
Ah.
were going with a low bid. It was a New York project. And they went with a contractor notoriously gets OSHA violations.
Mm.
They don't
Mm,
believe in safety, tie-offs, holding ankles out the window. It's crazy. I said, I will not
mm-mm.
compromise my what I built my company on. I'm not going to compromise just for the number. They gave me last look. I passed. I said, I'm not doing it. I
Mm.
can't meet that number. Look, it's not all about money, you
No,
know?
it's not.
We it's not. My late husband always he kept pounding that into my head. Children, parents,
Yes.
grandparents are gonna walk in these buildings. God
Yeah.
forbid something falls, kills somebody. You never just because you cut a corner. So we don't do that. My
Mm.
company doesn't compromise, not at all.
I love that you are a woman-owned business,
Mm.
and, I've noticed, over the last 4.5 years being in this role for Maggie. I've been in the industry as long as you have, maybe a few years longer.
Wow.
I've noticed there are not a lot of women in construction as owners,
Mm.
and the numbers are very low, but they are starting to rise. Why do
Mm.
you think that's happening?
Well, I think we're doing a good job of leading the way for them, you know? I'm not saying it's just us, but I think, they're finding out that blue collar is a viable option for them,
Mhm.
and there are places for women. I'm the owner, estimators, project managers, safety. There's a multitude of things for women and even hands-on with tools. So, I'm hoping that we keep getting the word out there. And when I finally retire, we have a new group to come in
Yes.
and take over. So
Do you
I'm
have a lot of
hoping.
wo do you have a lot of women that work for you yet?
I have two,
Okay.
but it's hard to find them.
It
They're
is.
usually tapers, the finishers, a lot of women finishers.
Yeah.
But they come and go. I have a lot of subcontractors. Sometimes the women are busy with another contractor,
Mhm.
but I welcome them. I always talk
Nice.
to them, you
I bet
know.
that I bet you're easy to work for too. If you're like us, we see a woman come into the field and we're like, "Yay! What do you need? How can we help you?"
Yeah, no, look, I'm always there. I'm always there for the younger kids, and I call them kids. Some of these kids that are subs, they're younger than my children, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy to help them. They need help, finding out how to get insurance, do this. I help them. I sit and I
Aw.
I do the paperwork with them. I just did it. They didn't
Yeah.
know how to get an EIN. I helped them register with the state.
Yeah.
So once it's very daunting, the unknown for these
Mhm.
younger generation because they don't have the experience, but yeah, I
I
mean, am I
I think
easy to work for?
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but I
I
do
I
help.
think our nurturing personality really does help, when
Yeah.
it comes to bringing more people into the industry, whether it's another female or a male. You probably help those males do the same,
I
right?
do.
Yeah.
Yep,
It doesn't
absolutely.
matter who they are, but, our nurturing, just, what's built in us is like, "Oh, what can I do to help you?" And if they're a hard worker, we're gonna, like, help them succeed.
That's exactly what I just did. He was a
Yeah.
hard worker. He asked me, "Lady boss, do you think you can help me do this?" And I said, "Absolutely." He said, "I
Mm.
did it once before. They charged me $3,000." And I go, "I'll do it for you for free."
Aw.
Nice.
That's
So
great.
I helped him out because I'm a really big advocate for loyalty. And I
Yeah.
told him, "I'll help you out, but I don't want any money, but I expect you to be loyal because once some of these subs get their money and they start moving, they want to go somewhere else, right? So all I
Mhm.
ask in return is that you stay loyal and you remember where you came from,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So,
great advice.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Pat, you are definitely showing females that they can own a construction company
Yes.
someday.
yeah.
And you're doing it right here with your story. But let's dive into that a little bit deeper. And because Christy and I are talking about this all the time. It's a very important topic.
Mhm.
In fact, I mean, we can't get enough people. So developing the pipeline to include more women to fill, current or future jobs at your company. How are you doing that? How are you developing them? You mentioned that you have a couple of females. How did you attract them again? And how are you developing them alongside their male peers?
Right. So typically when contractors work for me, like I said, I use a lot of subs. They know who I am, and I pay my bills. So most of the time they
That's
seek
important.
me, yeah, they seek me out because it's a shame. A lot of them work hard and they don't get paid. And
Mhm.
it's not right. I always pride myself on raising two sons with a carpenter's salary, and I don't believe in cheating a working man at all. So, but me personally, I'm involved in New Jersey with the Ocean County Technical Vocational School, and
Nice.
they have a fantastic apprenticeship program. And they're going to have a construction job fair in May that I'm taking part in. I have a booth,
Hmm.
and I get to interact with the graduating seniors. We're going to have a display of how you frame. I'll have my guys there showing them how to make a box header. We'll have a piece of wall, show them what all the parts to what we do. And I'm hoping to pull some summer interns out of there. And, maybe there's somebody in their sophomore year, junior year of college, even high school. It's both. It's the vocational and the high school. So I'm involved with that, and I have my communications girls always looking to try to get back with workshops.
Mm.
We just keep trying to get the word out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Trying to get these girls to know that they can do unconventional projects and work and jobs, and you got to broaden your horizons. Gave me a
Yeah.
very good life, construction, very good life. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, the opportunities are endless,
Mhm.
Oh,
right?
so much.
And, I'm gonna ask a, off the wall question, but I think that you'll enjoy to answer it. Um, we've heard from the next generations that they're not all about work, right? We grew up in a time where everybody expected us to work 80 hours a week, right?
Mm.
Not really, but work ethic was at the top of the priority. That's the only way you could get a job. And people like me are workaholics, but I'm working with these younger gals and guys that they really they really prioritize their families and their just their me time, which to me was kind of a shock at first. It's like, oh, who does that? Right. Well, now we have
Right.
whole
Yeah.
generations that do it. So how do you encourage your team to prioritize their life? Because I know you do. I can hear it in your voice, the way you
Yes.
love community and you love people.
Yes.
How do you do that? How do you help them prioritize their time so that they are getting a value? That not a we know there's no such thing as a work-life balance, but there can be times where you're working harder, but then there's other times where you get to spend more time doing life stuff. So how do you do that?
So I always ingrain in my men and ladies when they work with me, it's important to balance. And you said it's hard. It's very
Mhm.
hard because you do in construction, we all know when the work is there, you got to take it because it's
Yeah,
not one doesn't end on a Friday and a new one starts Monday.
right.
It could be a month in between. So, but I do, I always like to keep my late husband again. He never works Sundays. Sunday is
Nice.
a day of rest. It's a day of family. It's a day of the Lord. If you're practicing religion, and you need time to reset, you can't constantly work
Mhm.
because I do really see my men. They really start going down in production when they're tired, And we have something going on now, and it's been a push to get a Crunch Fitness open, and they're tired and you
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
to balance. You have to spend time with your family. You have to watch the kids play sports. It's not all about work, although it's tough because you have to make the money when it's there. But I do tell them all the time, go, 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 go hang out with your kids.
Awesome.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Was
And
your
that's,
That's
late
awesome.
husband in the industry?
yeah, he's the reason why I'm in the industry.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. Just
Sure. My husband was a union carpenter, and he
okay.
was employed by the state unemployment of New Jersey more than he was construction companies. So I said,
Yeah.
I can't, we're having children. I said, I can't live like this. I
Mm,
can't work 2 months and be off 4 months. I have a little bit more predictable mentality. Not that anything's predictable in construction, but,
no.
and I said, I took his $100 out of his layoff check in 1991. And I said, I'm going to open our own company. And that's how I started in the industry with $100.
Nice.
So if I can do it, you can do it out there.
That's right.
I got
Yeah.
flyers and business cards made, and I went around all empty stores in my local town and surrounding towns, and we got a call, and I
Nice.
got opportunity. So when opportunity knocks, you have to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm.
got a deposit. We bought all the equipment we needed. Came in the next day. Guy looked around. Did I just put you in business? I said, you did. And you're not going to regret it. So I used my business background. My husband was a carpenter, and we just flourished. We
Nice.
synergistically built the company, reinvested into it, because you got to have the right tools to make money.
Right.
So we just kept going, and that's how it chose me.
You definitely have, yeah, it chose you. It chose me too.
Yeah.
You definitely have to have the right mindset. You
Yeah.
definitely have to. And I think a lot of these, a lot of the companies that start don't have both, right? They don't have the skill set and the business
Mhm.
acumen. And that is the biggest challenge that we're seeing across the country is these small businesses are starting out because they're really good at a craft,
Mhm.
but then they don't have the business acumen to figure out not how to read a contract, how to um, just logistically put their people on the jobs. If they've got more than one job going on, it's that whole mindset of the business acumen. And the same is true. So there's people that are out there that have a lot of business acumen and think they can run a construction job, but they
Yes.
don't have the skill set. So how do you lead people that you don't understand how those particular trades work? So it's been a challenge for sure. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that technology is going to help with some of that, right? Like as far as the skill set and also as far as the business acumen, we have lots of opportunities for new technology and construction for the first time in how many years?
Long
Hundreds
time.
of years.
Yep.
So we were the last to bring it on, I feel like, but maybe not. Maybe we're not the last, but it felt like it. So what do you think? How do you think that that's going to impact our industry? Number one, and number two, um, there's a lot more jobs that's going to result from that. Is that
Oh, yeah.
that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I tell everybody, not only my men, fellow subcontractors, I always tell my own kids, the more certifications you get, the more valuable you become because nothing stands still in construction from estimating programs, Dusty Robotics now. Take a look at their products. Unbelievable. They got little Roomba layout tools. You upload the CAD drawings and it takes off dashes the lines, even puts the number of the stud that goes on those lines. So there's just so much going on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I looked out my window the other day. I got to tell you this story real quick. And I see this kid in the middle of the street with a giant drone. I
Ah.
look on the side of his thing, and it's his surveyors. So I go outside. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, we're just surveying." I go, okay. And he goes, we don't do it by hand anymore. He showed me the drone, put it up in the air. It does grids, gets all
Nice.
the points from the satellites. He said, the only thing we do is monuments out now. Everything is done by a drone. So
Nice.
drones are huge right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't believe it. It was this giant drone doing surveying. So
I've met a
That's
couple of people
cool.
who have seen their inspectors using drones now.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, there's a couple of inspectors on some jobs. I'm fortunate enough to be able to travel all over the country, and so I have seen, or heard. I have not seen it yet. I'd love to see it, and that's always my first thing. I've never seen that. Can I see that sometime?
So what
But,
do they use it for? Do you mind me asking?
I
Like
don't know all the details about it, but it was
studies,
just
maybe?
amazing to me that there were 2 jobs that I can remember the conversation in the last 12 months that they were like, they brought a drone out and they're using it for inspections. Now, whether or not it's like the final inspection, probably not, but maybe it's
No.
something that they're trying to pull in and see how it works kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, drones are
Mhm.
from documentation of the project all the way to the surveying.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah.
They learn how to operate a drone. And I asked the kid, he was only like 26 years old. He goes, I went to school for it. I said, good for you.
That's
I said,
awesome.
he goes, I got certified. He goes, it kind of, once you know the program, it kind of runs itself. But,
Mhm.
you know,
You
you
gotta
still
learn it
need a human.
first.
Yeah, you need a human to send it up and make sure that it's in the
Oh,
right
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
So
you have to have a license to do that too, to use it for
Yeah.
yeah,
aerospace and
FAA, you gotta be cleared
yeah.
by the FAA and some things like that.
Yeah.
So what do you do for fun? It sounds like you work all the time.
I do. I work too much, but I have to keep going, right? Because I'm
Right.
pushing all those guys out of my way. So fun. I'm looking forward to spring here in New Jersey because I'm a huge advocate of gardening and
Nice.
Oh,
hiking, and I love getting in touch with nature. It's grounding. It's relaxing. I
Mhm.
like the beach. I do all that stuff. That's my thing. Outside. I like to be outside,
I love
cutting
it.
grass, doing all that. But during the winter, it's cold.
yeah.
You wind up doing the same thing, work, right? So, I work a lot, but when you own a company, there's a lot of moving parts. My day doesn't end when everybody else's day does. I have to keep going. You have to keep bidding, right?
Yep.
If you get a couple jobs, you got to bid because we're 5 months down the road. So you got to keep going. So I do that for fun. I like to travel. I have a house in Florida. I like
Nice.
to try to sneak away too, just to relax. I like being by the water. Water is
Mhm.
very relaxing to me. So,
Mhm.
and
I
Well,
I
have
like
you're
to
walking.
in the
agree.
mhm. What
I
else?
have to agree.
Yeah, yeah, it's relaxing. I have a pool, and everybody goes, "You never go in the pool." I go, "Why do you have it?" I go, "'Cause I like to hear it. I like to
Mm,
hear the spillover spa. I like to be, it's very relaxing to me." And I also enjoy cars. I'm a car girl.
that's
So,
cool.
Ah,
yeah, I take
okay.
my cars out. I like fast cars, and I go through the countryside of the farmland in New Jersey. Nobody thought there was any. I
Nice.
go hang out with my horse friends. There's a lot of horse farms in New Jersey, so it's very relaxing to me as well. So.
Well, you keep
Awesome.
busy.
Oh, I'm
Wow.
I'm always
Yeah.
busy. I don't sleep
If you're
much.
not working, but it sounds like you're in the perfect industry because you like being outside too, so that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So, we're gonna wrap this up, Pat.
Thank you.
You've given a master class in grit, vision, and heart. What a way to start the day. Your story is the cornerstone for the future we're building here at Women Talk Construction. Thank you for inspiring us to keep
Sure.
swinging those hammers and dreaming big. Listeners, stay tuned because we're going to have even more incredible women to share, just as Pat has today. Pat,
Right.
share with our audience how they can get in touch with you if they want to find out more about what you're doing in New Jersey.
Sure. Well, I have my own website, which has all my links as well. It's patmiller.net. And if you want to see what I'm building or what I have built, I have Blue Diamond Construction NJ, like New Jersey, at .com. So
Yeah.
it's Blue Diamond Construction NJ.com. And also I'm on all the social medias, the Pat Miller 11. In LinkedIn, I'm under Patricia Miller, and it's in parentheses Pat, because that's what everybody calls me. So,
Pat.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
everyone can find your information on our episode too. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
it'll all be
appreciate you
there.
posting that. Yeah, I go by Pat on the job sites because they don't know if I'm a man or a woman.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
it's
That's not a
funny
bad
when they come
idea
on
at
site and
all.
I'm like, "Can I help you?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm looking for Pat." And I'm like,
That's
"Right here."
me.
They're like, "You're a woman?" I'm like,
Love it. Love
We've
it.
gotten
Yep.
that a few times. Well,
Surprise.
thank you so much for pouring into our audience and just
Sure.
sharing your story. So inspiring for people that don't think that they can start a construction company, and they
Mm-mm.
can. So thank you
Sure they
again for
can.
being on today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.